Hi, everyone, and welcome back to KGS Business Consultants Podcast and YouTube channel. I am your host, Dimple Patel, and today we have a special episode that touches on something that's been making a huge difference in both homes and businesses: energy efficiency. Now, let me take you back for a second. Picture this. It's um it's the middle of summer and your home feels like a sauna despite cranking up the air conditioning, or in winter you're wrapped up in three layers of blanket, but your heating bill is still through the roof. Sound familiar? Well, today's guests are a part of a company that is working to solve exactly that and more. They're making sure homes and businesses are not just comfortable, but also energy efficient in a way that positively impacts both the environment and your wallet. My friends, I'm excited to introduce Dillin Siwinski and Justin Kemper from Koala Insulation, a brand that's not only growing rapidly, but also making waves in sustainability and franchise ownership. So today we're going to hear about Koala Insulation's journey, their unique franchise opportunities, and how their services are making a big impact in the insulation industry. So if you've ever wondered about combining business ownership with a mission to make the world a little greener, this episode, my friends, is for you. So let's get started. Dillin, Justin, welcome to our channel and podcast.
Well, thank you so much. That was a fantastic introduction, if I don't say so. I don't even know what more they need to know. I'm sure you could run this call yourself, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you having us on to talk about koala.
Thank you. So should we just let's just jump right in and hear about koala insulation for the essence of time. So Justin, could you and Dillin, could you share how koala insulation came to be? Was there a light bulb moment where everything clicked for you guys, or was it just more of a gradual evolution?
Yeah, Dylan, I'll start, and then you can jump in. So starts with our founder. Our founder started a previous very large franchise, and he wanted to set out to create a brand that actually was 50% easier than his last brand for franchisees. And when he was looking at concepts and needs and whatnot, home service was starting to get really big. He identified how fragmented insulation is. Extremely fragmented, and there's a lot of chuck in the trucks and a lot of just people selling one SKU in the back of their truck. And insulation, I mean, there's a lot of science to it. So that's where Koala was born. We're your full service end-to-end insulation company: bats, blown in spray foam, but also all different types of materials: denim, glass wool, hemp, the pink fiberglass, Pink Panther, open cell, closed cell, all aspects. So when we come out to a home, we truly do what's right for the customer. And we use thermal imaging cameras to factually show them the why behind your recommendation, which builds trust. And through our systems and tools, we actually show up on time and get the job done quick. So contractors love using us. And now, yeah, we have over 400 locations throughout the nation, and still growing. And in just a few short years, we are the nation's leading insulation brand.
Yeah, if I could just add to that too, and I think that I'm talking through a little bit of, koala insulation in particular compared to other insulation companies. Obviously, Justin was talking about, the full gambit of services being offered and sitting and going, okay, what isn't being done in insulation right now, which like you mentioned, it's a very fragmented industry to where there's a ton not being done, right? Especially when you have something that's so diversified amongst mom and pops, being able to offer a full gambit of services is huge. But also, I think that you run into really two kinds of franchises in home service, right? You have folks that were really, really good at what they did, and decided to take a current concept and franchise it. And then you have people like the founder, Scott, who, build brands to franchise, which is a little bit different, right? When you talk about the structure and the need that's there. Because a lot of times what's lacking in home service is the sophistication and is the system that's built to scale. And so one of the big differentiators with Koala versus, another insulation company that might have started an insulation versus starting in franchising is that, hey, they're not really built to grow at the rate that you would need to be to take over and do really well in a fragmented marketplace, right? Because you don't have those differentiators. So some of it is just the simple stuff that allows you to do really well in an industry that is frankly very simple.
No, that's wonderful. Now, one of the things that really caught my eye is how Koala Insulation isn't just about business. There's also a clear environmental mission. I mean, how cool is that, to own a business that helps people save money and the planet at the same time. So what would you say makes Koala Insulation a standout opportunity for entrepreneurs who want to combine business ownership with making a positive impact?
Yeah, and if you want to start with that one, Justin, you got it.
Sure. Yeah, and maybe it's the continuation of the first. When Scott set out, he found that a lot of studies, over 90% of homes are under insulated. And when you factor in, there's a lot of tailwinds, both federal level and state level, on re-insulating both homes as well as commercial buildings. Individuals from a individual standpoint, not business, over 50% of their carbon footprint is made up from heating and cooling their home. It's not your car engine or your leaf blower. It's heating and cooling your home. So there's a lot of tax credits for insulation to better the environment, and especially when you think of all the stuff going on the grid, electric vehicles and whatnot. We're not building more power plants. We're trying to be more efficient. So that is where insulation comes into play, is lowering people's energy use.
No, that's
Yeah.
oh,
Sorry. Didn't mean to
go
cut you
ahead.
off there, but yeah, absolutely. Just to tackle anything onto the end, I mean, Justin did a great job, right? It's pretty straightforward as far as like, hey, we can get the government to pay you for doing this. Your house is more comfortable, and we're going to save you money on your power bill, right? So you have, again, like the green impact that you're talking about, which is huge, right? I think everybody wants to do something that's good for the world, but I think a lot of middle America is feeling pretty dang good about, okay, well, the government is going to give me some benefit from this, as well as I'm going to save 150 bucks a month on my power bill. For, an average investment of $2,800, I think most people are going, okay, this is kind of a no-brainer. I didn't even know that this was a possibility for me. So you're kind of adding all of this help that people weren't expecting to get, which frankly are some of the things we were talking about that do make us stand out from the average mom and pop versus just showing up, giving somebody a quote, and they don't even know why they're getting insulation, other than that they were told they need it, right? So just even providing that little bit of knowledge to somebody and going, oh, yeah, this is awesome. I didn't even know how awesome this was, right? Which is kind of the fun part.
And going off that question more, Dimple, and what Dillin added, it's more than just climate. It's also health has been a big thing top of mind in the last few years. And we do, full sealing of homes too. So when you think of people's allergies, like have gotten pretty bad over the years, more and more people are working from home, not in a well vented corporate office space anymore. They're starting to realize, wow, I do have a lot of airflow in my home, and I do need to reseal my building envelope, not just for comfort or the environment, but also my health. So that's another customer need starting to see too.
No, absolutely. That's wonderful. So just for the essence of time, I just want to make sure that, I have all my thoughts covered. So moving on to the next question, when you're looking for potential franchisees, what qualities or experience tend to make someone a great fit for Koala Insulation?
Yeah, so starts with leadership. I think this is for any home service and most businesses, but for Koala for sure, I'll speak to that. You're leading a team of employees, because we use W-2 employees. We can't use subs because the market is so fragmented and so terrible. We train our own employees for franchisees to do the work. And you need to have good leadership skills, inspect what you expect, that old saying, and be on the ball, because that's what grows your business. We only have to date one franchisee that came with experience. We joke we're corporate refugees. We have all types of executives, teachers, first responders. Our top performer on validation jokes, he never held a hammer in his life. And he's by far our top performer. He's setting records. And that really goes to what Koala, we have all the training. We can train the skills. We can't change someone's personality. So having that grit, having that leadership is key.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't add anything to that either. I would say leadership is definitely the best quality, just to say anything at all, because again, the people that consistently perform well, I know it's overused, but it's a people business, right? If you can maintain people with a good attitude, Koala's going to teach them how to do the rest. So leadership's number one for sure.
So there is no academic background or like specifically in environmental studies or renewable energy that is required to be able to own this kind of business?
Not at all. Not even remotely.
Okay. That's good actually, and it's a really nice opportunity actually. So now I just want to dig into the nuts and bolts a bit. You're offering insulation services for both residential and commercial clients, which is fantastic. But I'm also wondering, how does this tie into the broader movement towards sustainability and energy efficiency? Like everyone's talking about reducing carbon footprints. So how does your services help clients achieve that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of studies out there, EPA studies, National Association of Realtors studies. Some are, I think, pretty crazy, high numbers. They say re-insulating a home or a building will save 50%. We like to take the more conservative approach and find studies that are around that 18% mark in reduction. But then with all the Inflation Reduction Act that's going for 10 years, big commercial multi-unit dwellings, I mean, they get over 400,000 in tax credits to re-insulate. Single family homes get up to $1,800. 30% or 1,800. So there's a lot of tax incentive for that. And it's shocking, 90% of homes and buildings are under insulated. And a lot of candidates, they'll say, hey, go poke your head up in your attic. If they have like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old home, and they take pictures, and the next call, they're like, oh my gosh, I only have 6 inches of cellulose. My code is 18 inches. Like, holy cow. You're just bleeding air and heat or whatnot. So it's all about air movement. We're sealing homes to stop air movement.
Well, and it's really fun when you start to think about the overarching impact of what that does do to a green footprint, right? So we've got in our current FDD, we've got 76 franchises that are listed, right? They do an average of roughly 361 jobs a year, right? Which some of those are really mature locations that are doing 700 plus. Some of them are new locations, right, that are doing right in that pocket. But you take the impact that has on a single home and you multiply that by 361, and then you multiply that by 76 locations, and you talk about the nationwide impact that's occurring, not only to, okay, how much money are we saving everybody, but also like what is the actual global impact on emissions and on the power grid for everybody? It's pretty substantial, right? If you look at it as a vision, which is definitely very fun, right? When you start to look at that nationwide impact of what Koala is able to do across the country.
Okay, that's wonderful. So Dillin, Justin, for those who are out there wondering, what kind of returns can franchisees expect from Koala's business model? And is it scalable as it seems?
I'll jump in on that one. So I would say it's definitely as scalable as it seems, right? I think we always have to walk that fine line of saying, hey, you're going to get this much to your bottom line, right? I think it's different. There's so many different variables that are involved in it. If I was to talk through average numbers, right, per unit across our qualifying locations, we average about $1 million in top line revenue, or just above $1 million, right, which lines up probably perfectly with our average number of jobs at about 361. And then you talk about your average ticket price, and there's going to be high highs and low lows on that average ticket, right? Because you talk about a commercial job, it could be $80,000 plus on a ticket, right? Whereas, in a residential setting, it's going to be right in that pocket of about $2,800 per job. The margins in insulation are fantastic. Obviously, when you talk about commercial work, it's a little bit more of a transition into how are we driving COGS down to meet them where they're at for pricing when you talk about product materials, et cetera. But I think that when it comes to scalability, the thing to keep in mind is kind of like we were talking about with leadership.
Mhm.
The only way that you can scale this is by scaling your team, right? So you're only going to be able to scale this as successfully as you can scale your leadership abilities and maximize across your team and your equipment, right? Because just because you jump in and you're going, okay, I want to build this massive business, right? It's very much crawl, walk, run, right? Let's get your feet underneath you. Let's start with residential retrofit. Let's build your team, build your industry experience. And that's when we see people breaking out into doing those commercial jobs, getting multiple crews, getting additional trucks and trailers to go service it. Highly scalable, but we want to do this effectively. We want to do it responsibly. We don't want you to have all this strain on your cash flow just because you want to have this massive business in your first 2 years, right? We want you to get as much business as you can, absolutely, in those first 2 years, but we want to make sure you're doing it correctly and not pulling your hair out as a business owner the whole time, right? That's part of the system and the structure to get you to scale. So I don't know. I don't mean a negative downcast on it, right? Because I love when people are so excited and they're going, gosh, I'm going to be the best koala owner on the fit. I'm like, I bet you will. Give it a little bit of time, right? Everything with time.
Mhm.
Dillin stole the words. I was going to add that last part on. Crawl, walk, run. Yes, we believe heavily a strong average ticket isn't what's always best for the franchisee. It's what's always best for corporate, right? Royalties. But again, if you're doing that $100,000 job for commercial, by the way, commercials typically accounts receivable. You're not getting paid for net 90, net 120. So now let's say 20% of that is insulation material and then labor. Well, now that franchisee needs to float, 30,000 for 3 months, 4 months. We want to start with residential retrofit. You get in the black, you get reps, you build your Google reviews, you get that validation. So then when you're all scaled, next step to scale would be hiring a second crew and then, grow, baby, grow. You have the validation of Google reviews, contractors start calling you, and you scale really deeper in your territory. You don't need to have 5, 10, 15 territories for scale. You just scale your customers that you're serving.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if I was to summarize and cap it off, I would say it is highly scalable and it's highly oh my gosh, I'm losing the word in my head. It's highly sustainable, right? So once you get to that point of sustainability, I mean, the sky's the limit with how far you can scale it because it's directly related to your ability to manage people, build those teams. And once you figure out the logistics around it, I mean, you can do really phenomenal in this model. It's just getting to that point of sustainability where, hey, we're going to make that big jump and do some really fun things.
Mhm. One thing I hear a lot from people considering a franchise, will I get the support I need? I know you've got a whole system in place to make sure franchises succeed. Can you guys walk us through the kind of training new franchise owners get and what kind of ongoing support can they expect?
Yeah, so that's one thing I will scream Koala wins over other concepts. Putting my sales hat on because starting with training, we never want to get in the way of franchisees' success. We never ever charge for training. There's no initial training fee that we cap out at 2 people. Bring 8 people, bring 10 people. Let's say you replace your general manager if you hired one in 6 months or 6 years, send them to training, no cost. We do not have limits on training, and that's just onboarding. Then we've rolled out this year, every month we have refresher courses that are optional, 4-day course, spray foam, advanced spray foam boot camp. Because now that we're starting to get more mature, franchisees are leaning into commercial jobs, bigger jobs. That's no cost as well. And then we also have a very advanced sales training. It isn't teaching sales tactics, it's teaching building science and how to relate to the customer and educate the customer on their home. We do that quarterly, and that's cost us a lot of money. It's no expense for franchisees. And since we've rolled out all of those things this year, sales are looking real good. So that's just on the training. But then corporate will also come out to you to do jobs alongside your crew, our master technicians, to make sure, and we'll act as part of your team so the customer's not weirded out, but we'll do it alongside your technicians to make sure they're doing it right and they're not wasting material for your cogs. And then we also have ongoing distributors doing trainings. We have monthly calls, but then we also rolled out EOS this year, Entrepreneurial Operating System. We have every franchisee, actually at confirmation day, I'll give them a book, Traction, so they can read on their plane ride home, where they can understand EOS. And, we have level 10 meetings with franchisees, the business coaches will, and focus on those big stones and keep progressing over time. And we don't just have one business coach, they're regional, so they can really relate to the franchisee in their area. And progression planning, keep improving their numbers. I could keep going. Marketing wise, we grew our marketing team a ton this year. And now nationally, we're doing a lot of marketing too, like different streaming platforms. We're doing national ads on for franchisees. And we have an in-house design team as well, saving money for franchisees. Dillin, anything to add?
Yeah, and I mean, I think just kind of not a ton to add, granted, because there's a ton of support, right? I mean, and that's kind of what I was alluding to at the beginning of, I think you find a couple things in home service franchise, and neither of them are inherently bad or good, but some of the benefits that you have from a company that was built to scale, a company that was built to franchise, is that they had all these support systems in mind when they built the company, right? It was like, what do franchisees want? What do they need? And it was built accordingly. So like just mentioned, a ton of support. I mean, it feels like every time, that we talk through support that I'm just like word vomiting on people across like, hey, we've got business coaches, we've got this, we've got that, but there's also a ton of small incremental things that people don't even think about, right? Like we talked a ton about tax benefits today, and it's like, well, how do I even go about getting registered with my state? Well, Koala's going to help you with that, right? They know that process. They know how to get registered and actually get you that work. You're not just like, yeah, you can do that if you figure it out, right? It's like, well, we're going to show you how. We're going to show you how to set up your business. So not only do we have this massive overarching system that people are going to be a part of, but it's still that crawl, walk, run, right? It's easy to go, gosh, we have a billion things, but it's like, okay, step by step, we are going to help you set up your business, right? Which is fun. It's very fun for people.
That's really nice, guys. So, one other question I have, everyone loves a good success story. Could you share a standout story from one of your franchises, maybe something that illustrates what's possible with Koala Insulation? And on the flip side, let's get real for a second. What are some common challenges new franchises might face, and how do you guys help them overcome those?
Starting with success stories, I'll give you two that I'm very proud of. I had a couple that I worked with years ago on a different franchise, and it just didn't work out territory wise. But I thought they'd be a good fit, so I called them back, being on Koala, and now they're open up. They opened up earlier this year, and they're older, elderly, and what I love about that, I mean, they're definitely not climbing ladders or anything like that, but they followed our process literally to a T. Who to hire, what questions to ask in the interview, what to listen for, the whole model to a T. And they are doing so well. Just so happy for them, so proud of them. And then another cool story, Kevin in Space Coast, he came executive marketing background, and he opened up earlier this year in April. He also to end of March followed everything to a T. Definitely made some mistakes on who to hire here and there, but he worked with us and we got him course corrected. And he went so quick. He already started doing commercial work in the summer. and he completed a very large job. And since this is going to be public, I can't say the name of the company due to Department of Defense reasons, but for a very big company doing spray foam in a very, very large, cool warehouse that houses something that may go up in the sky. So yeah, we're all about that growth and that support, and it's just fun seeing the happiness in franchisees. Now going into challenges, no, the thing with Koala, we heavily believe in a more of an infinite mindset, not finite. We know things are going to change over time. We change our process and our model to adapt to those things often. So franchisees, I see this a lot that have been open for like at least a year, 2 years. They got past the honeymoon stage. They feel like they know everything. Well, we're constantly changing, and you need to communicate with us. You need to come back to us, use our new marketing, use our new systems, our new tools. If you just go out on an island, you're going to forget, you're not going to learn all the new stuff that we have. And you don't know what you don't know. So always communicate with us. And then also at the end of the day, we've learned as we've gotten into certain markets, one size fits all approach for marketing definitely doesn't work, right? And sometimes you do need to pick up the phone and call customers. You need to have that grit to do that. And I get some people, they just don't. But I'm not saying call customers and knock on doors, but I'm saying call companies that need insulation contractors, like pest control companies, remediation companies. When they're going in, ripping out moldy insulation, they need someone timely to put new stuff in, and we have scripts and everything for that. So it takes grit, and franchisees that have struggled, they just didn't have the grit to do whatever it takes to move mountains quick. Obviously Koala's helped them coach through it, and we've got them going, but they could have done it a lot faster.
I had something to add to, I mean, I think that, and I think any franchise can probably agree with this, right? I think one of the biggest challenges, like Justin mentioned, when you start to feel like you're on an island, right? Because I think you can get out, you can get around the team, you can be like, oh my gosh, this company has amazing culture, right? Because you're getting a lot of that baked in where you're like, this is amazing. Well, you still kind of have to build your own store's culture, right? You have to find that team that's going to buy into the culture and build one that's like Koala, right? Like the corporate team. Because just because you get around them and they're going to provide you that support, yeah, they're going to help you find those people. Sometimes I think you can feel like you're on an island when you're trying to build that team of positive people, especially it's a startup at the end of the day, right? I mean, you're building it from the ground up. So you've got to kind of, like we talked about with leadership, you've got to build that same culture in your own store. And frankly, if you have the right people, even if you're not the top performer, it's a lot easier to stay positive and maintain forward traction when you've built a really good team around you, right? And like I said, I think that's a little bit overarching in franchising, but we're lucky enough in the industry that we have, there's not an excessive amount of turnover, right? You're not utilizing subs where you're just kind of scattered to the wind. Like you are truly building that team. So the pro to that is like once you find your people, man, you can get a full head of steam really quick. But the con to that is like, well, you got to find those right people, right? And Qual's got to help you find those right people, coach you through how to find that culture, right? Hiring off of attitude instead of experience, it goes a really long way, right? And that's really what the basis of franchising is more than anything else is, hey, you can find people that have the right attitude, are a good fit, and they don't have to know anything about insulation, just like you don't, right? That's our job as the franchisor. So I would say that's a big challenge too.
Going off Dillin, it also comes down to time. If franchisees have challenged where they started their business and they only had 5 hours a week to put on it, yeah, you can do 5 hours a week for numbers, but who's coaching your employees and maybe taking 10 minutes or a half hour to go drive to where your employees are and drop off a 6-pack of Gatorade and some pizza or sandwiches just to drive their gratitude as the owner. You need to spend some time with your employees to build and that culture. So then you can step back if that's what you want to do. Yeah, time and leadership.
So is this a semi-absentee model?
I think
Go ahead,
I would
Dill.
say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's people that are just absolutely killing it that are in a semi-absentee role, right? And I would say it depends on your definition of semi-absentee, like everybody likes to say, right? But the reality is, hey, it's 15, 20 hours a week on the high end if you are running it in a semi-absentee facet. But like we mentioned, the number one thing that you have to have is leadership skills, right? Because I always say, hey, it's reverse multiplication. So if you're only putting in 15 hours a week, but you have to be a strong enough leader to maximize on those 15 hours versus the 40 hours that you would have to put in a regular leadership role, like in a W-2 position, etc. So it's attainable. You can do it. It's all the same challenges. It's the same business with an extra employee at the end of the day. So the reality is you can definitely do it. It's attainable, but you have to come equipped with the ability to maximize on your leadership time. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun for anybody, right? So it's about, hey, can you commit that 15 hours? And outside of committing that 15 hours, are you actually going to maximize on that 15 hours? And do you have the ability to do so, right? That's always the differentiator at the end of the day.
Mhm. So, before we wrap up, I always love to get some advice for our listeners. What would you say to someone who's on the fence about investing in Koala Insulation franchise, and what are you most excited about for the future of the brand?
I'll let you go first on this
All
one,
right.
Justin. I'm thinking I'm
All right. Starts with the team at headquarters. Corey, the president, Alan, the business coaches, Austin, marketing head, our rig shop team. They are just phenomenal human beings with a lot of wisdom and a lot of years of experience. And they just do such a great job helping people succeed. So that's one thing great about our model is, and Dillin talked really well earlier about it. That crawl, walk, run, it's every part of the business. They're going to be there with you, helping you. So most people go into a franchise because they want that proven model and support. This is that. And it's only getting better. We didn't really touch on this, but a lot of things have changed in the last 14 months. Corey, the new president that came in, we added a whole new marketing team. We grew our business coaches from 1 to 4, grew the rig shop team, our field tech support team we grew. We renegotiated material prices down for franchisees. We drastically grew our national accounts for franchisees. There's maybe some new service offerings that we're tacking on soon. We are growing in all directions, in both support offerings and locations, helping their P&Ls. So it's a fun model. It's a great model to be part of.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, things I'm excited about for the future of Koala. I mean, this is the time to be excited about where Koala's going. Like, I'm sure that whoever's listening to this is like, if I have to hear crawl, walk, run one more time, I'm gonna lose it. But I mean, I think that Koala is finally in their run stage as a system, right? So when you talk about being able to throw their weight around with distributors, driving costs down on marketing, really hitting that point where they are in their run phase of growth and able to support the rapid growth, right? Which they've already grown really fast and done a really good job keeping everybody supported. But when you talk about where they're going next, I think it's going to be very exponential. So I'm very excited for that. As far as what advice I'd give to somebody considering, I think Justin did a really good job. I would say, what's there to consider, man? Come be with Koala. But I mean, outside of that, it really comes down to what are you trying to get out of it, right? If you want something that's scalable, if you want something that's recession proof, I think that Koala's right up that alley. It's just, hey, do you love insulation? And not necessarily what it is, but what it does, right? And that's saving people money and being able to help the world a little bit while also being a good business. So
Mhm. So, guys, this has been an amazing conversation. Dillin, Justin, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all the exciting things that are happening at Koala Insulation. I've definitely learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure our listeners have too. From energy efficiency to franchise growth, it's clear that Koala Insulation, it's a brand that's not just making homes cozier, but it's also helping entrepreneurs build successful businesses. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for having us.
And
If you're listening, we can't wait to talk to you.
And before we wrap up, guys, I just want to remind everyone that I am a franchise consultant, and I'm here to help you navigate the world of franchising, whether you're curious about Koala Insulation or another brand. And the best part is my services are completely free because I get paid by the brands that I work with. So my goal is simply to help you find the perfect fit without any cost on your end. And in addition, I've also developed a personality and industry fit test to help create a custom client profile for every person I work with. And this really helps me understand your strengths, goals, and passion so I can guide you toward the business that's truly right for you. Whether you're interested in energy efficient solutions like Koala Insulation or something else, I'm here to help you. So Dillin, Justin, before we go, do you have any final thoughts or advice or anything you want to say? Or
Gosh, I mean, if you're somebody that is looking into franchising legitimately for the first time, I mean, finding someone like yourself to work with goes a really long way, I would say, because if you're so new to franchising, frankly, you don't know up from down, right? I mean, there's so many different options out there to be able to look through, and you don't even know some of the distinguishing factors. So, find somebody that can be in your corner and really help you through the process, and just learn as much as you can. Dedicate yourself to the process to learn a ton more, because I mean, it's a wide world in the franchise community. I mean, I'm biased towards Koala. I love Koala, and I'd love to talk to you about it, but it's this is where you can open the door to having a lot of fun in business ownership, right? Not starting it from zero. So
thank
I
you.
agree with Dylan. There's 4,000 franchises out there. Have Dimple help you, guide you, and that will relieve a lot of stress.
Thank you so much, guys.